What if I told you that your perception of reality is an elaborate white deception? A deception designed for maintaining white social dominance over the black population. The distortion of the public's perception of reality is much more easily achieved than most people realize. All that's required for the distortion of reality is to repeatedly feed false information into a society. The public at large will then begin functioning based upon those false information instead of the true reality. Therefore, the basic tool required for the manipulation of reality is to merely feed distorted narratives into our society. Those who control these narratives control the public perception of reality. All you have to do is keep feeding false information into a society, and you can control those who believe that the information is true. Because the white society controls all of the information that are fed into our society, they therefore literally owns the perception of reality. They've exploited this immense position of power by systematically feeding false white exalting and false black marginalizing information into our society. The public at large are functioning based upon those false information rather than the true reality. It's a social engineering scheme that aids the white society in maintaining their white social dominance over the black population. This propaganda campaign is so obvious that it's only by not critically thinking that it cannot be seen. For when critically thinking and applying common sense, it becomes easy to see just how cartoonishly unrealistic it actually is, that virtually all information that we receive from white sources exalts their racial group above ours. The white society sits upon a throne of white exalting and black marginalizing lies. They not only marginalizes our history while also false exalting theirs, they also tell us that all of their societal narratives exceeds ours. They even tell us that all of their health studies exceeds ours. And they even distorts their maps to make Africa appear 13 times smaller than its true relative size, while making all white countries appear significantly larger than their true sizes. And because Africa is a continent, they even miseducate us to believe that Europe is a continent, although it's in fact not. The absolute fact is that virtually all information that we receive from white sources falsely exalts their racial group, while falsely consistently marginalizes and devalues ours. It's been going on for so long that many people have normalized it, but there's nothing normal or even realistic about this scenario. It's actually a psychological warfare propaganda campaign deployed for ensuring the continuation of white social dominance over the black population. More specifically, it is a racist perception management system that is designed to create and sustain false assertions and assumptions within a society that aids in maintaining white social dominance and white social capital over the black population. Perception management is a propaganda technique that involves altering the public's perception of reality to suit the objective of the white ruling class. White social scientists determined a long time ago that it was necessary to create and deploy a perception management system that would aid in maintaining white social dominance over the black population. Here is how and why. According to white social scientists, in order for a dominant group to maintain its position of social dominance over its subordinate population, that the information that are fed into the society must endorse the dominant group's position of social dominance. This means that the information fed into a society must exalt the dominant group above its subordinate population. Doing so conveys a subliminal message into the society that the dominant group is inherently superior and is therefore supposed to rule over its subordinate population. This is what the white society has done. White social scientists describe this unethical practice as merely instilling a value system into the collective minds of the Black subordinate population that makes us adhere to the authority and existing infrastructure of the white dominant culture. This psychological warfare system has worked so effectively that it not only makes many Black people more compliant with white dominance over our lives, it has in fact caused many of us to even prefer it. Through this nefarious practice, the collective self-esteem of the white masses have been falsely bolstered at the expense of the collective self-esteem of the Black masses. The fact is, the information that are fed into the white dominant society have been whitewashed to create and sustain false assumptions within the society that aids them in maintaining their social dominance over the Black population. Here's a hidden history and a reason why this perception management system was implemented against us. After slavery was abolished in the U.S. in 1865, the advancement made by African Americans following slavery was extraordinary. In spite of receiving no reparations and being constantly plagued by the ongoing evils of white racism, African Americans built many of our own self-efficient cities across the nation. Those Black-built cities often exceeded their neighboring white cities. This resulted in many white mobs rioting and destroying those Black cities. Black segregated schools also made a significant positive impact within our communities across the nation. Black illiteracy rate had become lesser than white illiteracy rate in many places. Also, after slavery was abolished in the U.S. in 1865, beginning from 1870 through 1940, African Americans submitted 726 invention patents to the U.S. Patent Office. Those numbers of patent applications submitted by African Americans more than doubled those submitted by whites during the same time frame. And this was achieved in spite of the fact that African Americans then only made up less than 3% of the U.S. population. For a people to go directly from being enslaved to then producing the majority of the inventions in such a short time span is astounding. This scenario of Black people producing most revolutionizing inventions have been deliberately hidden from the public. The truth of the matter is that white people invented the Patent Office and have always used it to steal the intellectual property rights from Black people. You see, in order for Black inventors to get their inventions mass produced, they have to go before white companies. These white companies acquires the right to the inventions and then places white faces in front of the technology. This scenario literally allows the white society to continue exploiting the intellectual genius minds of Black people while maintaining the appearance and perception that all technological advancements are coming from the minds of Caucasians. The hidden fact is that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustices of white racism and slavery, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were in fact either invented by Black people or were directly inspired by early inventions made by Black people. It's actually the genius minds of Black people that moves the entire world forward. White social scientists determined that if it became commonly known that by the masses, that most inventions come from the minds of Black people, that this awareness could erode the white society's social dominance over the Black population. Therefore, this perception management system prevents that erosion by falsely giving credit to their racial group for most inventions made by Black people. Case, point, and proof. White historians miseducate us to believe that Thomas Edison is responsible for lighting up the world. But here are the facts to the contrary. Thomas Edison and Lewis Latimer were both each simultaneously working on their inventing their light bulbs. Edison merely rushed to have his light bulb patent first. However, once Edison patented his light bulbs, no companies produced it, purchased it, because it was deemed not efficient enough. It lit very dimly and only lasted a few minutes, in some cases only a few seconds. The light bulb that was purchased, mass-produced, and its inventor dispatched around the world to oversee its installation was in fact actually invented by an African-American inventor named Lewis Latimer. He sold it to the U.S. Electric Company in 1881. Therefore, the hidden reality and facts are that it was a black man that actually lit up the entire world. White historians also miseducate us to believe that Henry Ford invented the first automobile. It was actually an African-American inventor and carriage company entrepreneur named Charles Richard Patterson that built the first automobile. The C.R. Patterson and Company, C.R. Patterson and Sons Company started out as a carriage building firm in 1873. In the early 1900s, Patterson and his sons converted it into an automobile manufacturer. C.R. Patterson began making automobiles before Henry Ford, and his automobiles were considered much more sophisticated. It was released in the early 1900s and sold for $850. It had a 4-cylinder Continental engine. C.R. Patterson and Sons were forced out of business by Henry Ford in 1939. The White Society also miseducates us to believe that the Wright brothers are responsible for building the first aircraft in 1909. The public at large functioned based upon that white exalting narrative. However, the hidden fact is that before the Wright brothers flew their aircraft in 1909, a black man named Charles F. Page had already invented, patterned, and flown an aircraft 3 years earlier in 1906. It's a fact that's been deliberately hidden from all historical facts. It's hidden from our whitewash history books. All of these facts have been deliberately omitted from our history books. The education we've been taught has been whitewashed to create false assumptions within our society that aids in maintaining white social dominance over the black population. Through their monopoly over information that are fed into our society, the white society has also manipulated millions to believe that most inventions comes from the minds of whites and to perceive black people as being the leeches of society that haven't invented much throughout history. Maintaining these perceptions aids them in maintaining their social dominance. But the truth is much different than what they've manipulated millions to believe. The truth is that without black people, there would exist no motors, therefore no automobiles, no airplanes, no helicopters. Without black people, we would not have skyscrapers because we only have skyscrapers because black people invented the elevators, the air conditioning, and central heating, which are essential in order for people to live or work in skyscrapers. Without black people, there would exist no internet, no cell phones. We wouldn't have cameras, nor even microphones on our cell phones if it had not been for black inventors. We wouldn't have the accurate weather forecasting systems. We wouldn't have the cataract laser removal scope. There would be no emails, no GPS, no hearing aids, no touch-tone phones, no caller ID, no home surveillance security systems, no home game cartridges. There'd be no steam engines, no traffic lights. Without black people, there would exist no refrigerators, no refrigerated trucks, therefore no ice cream trucks, no blood banks, no dry cleaning, no lawnmowers, no doorknobs, no 3D movies, no pencil sharpeners, no female sanitary pads. Black people have in fact enriched nearly the aspect of the lives of everyone on this planet through our many inventions. It's actually the genius minds of black people that moves the society forward. But this reality is kept from your collective minds through the white society's monopoly over information. We are instead functioning based upon white exalting and black marginalizing lies. Therefore, we are functioning based upon a false perception of reality. You have to elevate your mind above a biblical fairy tale and the silly slave syndrome and learn the social sciences that are put in place for maintaining white social dominance over black people. It is time to wake up to our reality. The time of believing in dumb shit is over. One love and peace.